Hello there, friend. This is Piano Man Steve, founder of the Piano Man Approach online piano course, where we learn all the greatest songs of all in recorded history, and we do it faster and have more fun along the way. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to be doing a master class here on a great tune by Matchbox 20 called Bright Lights. And before we get started, I just want to shamelessly ask you that if you enjoy this kind of free content, would you please give the channel a subscribe and like the video and share it with somebody if you think they might like it. Leave comments, and at the very least, talk about it if you enjoy it. Talk about it with somebody who might be interested. I would sure appreciate that. So what we're going to do is run this song through my magic 5-step song learning formula and show you how you can use chords, rhythm patterns, and improvisation, simple chord-based improvisation, to play this song and get to the other side much faster. So let's get started here. We're in the key of E. If you are familiar with chord symbols, then you already probably know that an E chord is made up of E, G sharp, and B. And we're going to play octave E's down here in the left hand. All right, very exciting. So this does not have an intro. It just jumps right into the song. So what we're going to do is run it through my 5-step formula. The first step, this is an acronym. We call it the GLIDE formula because you can glide right into learning just about any song you want. So you get the chords. There's a lot of places that you can look for chords on. I happen to use ultimateguitartabs.com, but a lot of other people have stuff. There's different apps and websites. So just find any place that's got lead sheets or even sheet music. You're not going to pay attention to the notes on the staff, but you are going to want to look at the guitar chords written along the top. So any place that's got that, get the chords. Second step is L, G-L. So listen to the song. Find it on YouTube, find it on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you like to listen, and have a listen to the song because you need to be familiar with kind of how it feels, which gets us into the third step, identify the feel. Identify the feel. What we're talking about there is what kind of rhythm pattern are we going to set up? So if you're not familiar with my work, one of the things that I try to teach people to do is, if you've never noticed, there are a lot of very mediocre musicians who are still able to make music with an acoustic guitar. And the reason they're able to do that is that they know 10 or 12 chords that they can play on with their left hand on the neck of the guitar, and then they have a strumming pattern that they use in the right hand that recreates the song well enough. And so they don't have to be super amazing musicians. And then if they do become really, really good at other aspects of the guitar, it only makes them better. It only makes it more interesting to listen to them play. But there's a point of entry even for somebody who's more of a beginner or just never really picked up on it that much, but they just really like to make some noise. The same thing can be true with piano, and what we have to do is we have to identify a rhythm pattern that we can plug the chords into that will sort of recreate the essence of the song. So we're going to identify the feel, and I have 4 rhythm patterns that are kind of what I call my essential feels that I teach. First one's called the basic. We're just going to try. So we're just going to take the chords that you've found, and we're going to try plugging them into the basic feel and see if that seems right. Okay. So the basic feel is where you play quarter notes in the left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just kind of establish a tempo, right? And in the right hand, for now, what we're going to do is just going to come down on counts 2 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so then you just see, does this seem right? She got out of town on a railway, New York bound. It's a little choppy, right? Like that doesn't seem quite right. So I don't think that's the right one. So we tried a different one. There's the country feel, which probably isn't going to be right for this, although the country feel doesn't only have to work for country music, nor do all country songs fit into the country feel. But country feel is where you play in the left hand the root of the chord, and then you alternate to the 5 of the chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is B, okay? 1, and you can think of it as either 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or you can think of it as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and really doesn't matter to me how you think that through. But, and then in your right hand, you're going to play in between those two. So like an chuck. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So that's your country feel. Let's try this out. It says, she got out of town on a railway, New York bound. Okay, that might be very interesting to rearrange it with that feel, but if we're trying to sound like Matchbox 20, that's probably not the one that we're looking for. Although that was an interesting experiment. So we can rule those two out. The third one is the waltz feel. I think we can rule that out too, because that's in 3/4 time, and this has 4 beats per measure. Anything that's got 2 or 4 beats per measure, you know is not going to work with a waltz pattern, because that's for something that has 3 beats per measure. So we can rule that out completely. There's no way for that to work. That leaves us with the fourth and final one we're going to try out, which is called the syncopated feel, or the heartbeat feel. And that is where we kind of mimic a heartbeat. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. Can you hear it? Thump, 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 thump. And because it's coming down on some of those back beats, right? 1 and 2, that offbeat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, like that. That's why we're calling it the syncopated feel. It's syncopated. So let's just try that out. She got out of town. And all we're going to do with the right hand, by the way, is play quarter notes over the top of it. So like this. 1, 2, and 3. So she got out of town on a railway, New York bound. So baby, baby, baby. Can you hear how the song kind of came to life, kind of sprung to life when you put that rhythm pattern with it? So even though we aren't necessarily just going to play that like a drone all the way through, there are different nuances and modifications we can make. That's our basis. So we've identified the feel. We want to use the syncopated feel, that heartbeat in the left hand. Now, the next step is drill it down. That means you want to take the chords in the song and you want to get them under your hands, just playing that rhythm pattern, the simplest version of the rhythm pattern, because you want to be familiar enough with where the song is going that you are not investing a whole lot of brain power in thinking to yourself, okay, I'm on E, I've got to go to B. Where's that, right? You don't want to be thinking that. You want that to be on autopilot so that you can focus on other things like modifications you want to make to the rhythm pattern and simple chord-based improv. So we just take it and we're just going to run it kind of as is with no frills. So it's an E chord, and then a B chord, B, D sharp, F sharp. And by the way, I've put the chords and the lyrics down in the video description, so you can check it there if you don't have another place that you can find them. Just wanted you to have that as a tool here. sharp minor. Okay. Now I'm making an assumption that you know your chords. If you don't know your chords, then rather than learning the song from this, what you might do is just observe the process that we go through, and then certainly there's a lot of ways to learn your basic major and minor chords, and we talk about that in my crash course and run through those in my crash course as well. But I just wanted you to understand I'm not going to take the time to break down what every single chord looks like. I'm just going to kind of play as though you kind of know what that is in this video. But I want you to see how this process produces a really, really good, credible version very, very quickly. It doesn't have to take a long time to learn a song and to have it sound good. So E, she got out of town. B, F sharp minor, on a railway New York bound. A, E, took all except my name. Back to B, C sharp minor, B, on Broadway. A, there's some things in this world you just can't change. So back to E and then back to B once again. F sharp minor. Some things you can't see until it gets too late. Okay? And now we get to the chorus of the song, and it's back to E. And baby, 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 when all you're, then it goes to a D chord. Love is gone. Who will save me from? Then to an A chord. All I'm up against out in this world. Back to E. Maybe, maybe, maybe you'll find D, something that's enough to keep you. But if the A, bright lights don't receive you, you should B, turn yourself around and come on home. Okay? And it mostly follows that exact pattern again. And then eventually, after you get past that last chorus, it says, turn yourself around and come on home. And then it goes to a C sharp minor. Let that B city take you in. A, B, C sharp minor. Let that city spit you out. B, C sharp minor. Let that city take you. D chord for down, down, A, B, A, B, God sakes, turn around. Okay, and then there's an instrumental break, E, D, A, E, and then right back in for that final chorus. Baby, 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 when all your D is gone, I'll save you. A, all I'm up against out in this world. Back to E. And maybe, maybe, maybe you'll find something that's enough to keep you. But if the A don't receive you, B yourself around and come on. Actually, it kind of holds on B there. Turn yourself around. Come on home. And then at the end of the song, it just kind of goes back and forth between E and A. Baby, come on home. Baby, come on home. And then it kind of fades out, so you can kind of decide whenever you want to bail out of the song. So the reason why we do that, one is to get it under your fingers, but also now that we've kind of run through the song a little bit, I just want to point out what's great about this method is that if you've gone to the little bit of work that it takes to get comfortable with your major and minor chords in all 12 keys, right? So you basically you learn 24 chords. 12 majors, 12 minors. And that will get you through about 80%, 85% of all popular music. By doing that and then having this rhythm pattern under your fingers, this is a pretty good version of the song already. It's not a perfect replica of what they did, and we're not in the business of perfect replicas anyway. What we're in the business of is really good approximations. But there's a lot of nuance I'm going to show you in the next step of how we can make it more interesting and to take on more elements of what we're going on in the recording. But without that, if you just don't have enough momentum in your piano journey to be able to do that, you're just not advanced enough, this is a pretty darn good rendering of the song to just be able to go, she got out of town on a railway New York bound, took all except my name. Another alien out on Broadway. Some things in this world you just can't change. Some things you can't see till it gets too late. Baby, baby. I'm sorry, I got a frog in my throat. But baby, 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 when all your love is gone, who will save me from all I'm up against down in this world? Baby, 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 you'll find something that's enough to keep you. But if the bright lights don't receive you, you should turn yourself around and come on home. I mean, you know, for somebody who's just kind of getting started with the instrument, that's a pretty good sounding rendering, and it's not that complicated to do. You have to learn one rhythm pattern, and I think there's about maybe 6 or 7 chords in the whole song, maybe 8. So that's the power of this method. And also, it doesn't only teach you how to play this song. It teaches you how to play, like, these same chords and the same rhythm pattern can be used in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different songs. So, okay, so after you've drilled it down, the last step is E, enhance with signatures and simple chord-based improv. So this is where we start listening to the nuances of the recording and trying to make little changes to things that we're doing in hopes that we can create a little more of the essence of it. So the first thing that we might look at is that clearly at the beginning of the song, they don't really have the rhythm pattern going at full force yet. Your left hand in implementing a rhythm pattern is very much like the bass guitar and the drums together. Okay, think of it that way as the foundation of your rhythm section. Well, at the beginning, it's just sort of piano, and it's very, very subdued. It's just Rob Thomas going, kind of plays like, she got out of town on a railway New York bound, took all except my name. Another alien out on Broadway. So see how it's very free form at that point, and it's a very small sound. Whenever you're trying to make the sound smaller, there are things you can do beyond just hitting the keys softer. You can squeeze, what I would say is compress the number of keys that are being played. So follow me here. If we're playing here, it's a smaller sound than if you play this an octave lower with your left hand, right? Because there's fewer frequencies in the sonic backdrop, right? So you can do that. You can actually just not play octaves. You could just play one note in the left hand. That's a way to make the sound smaller. So the more condensed and compressed your the range of frequencies that you're actually putting out into the soundscape, the smaller the sound. And you can just hold a note. You can just do the playing something with an actual rhythm pattern is going to create a bigger sound than simply playing longer held notes. So this is a smaller sound. She got out of town. Even if I'm in that compressed field and I'm playing, she got out of town. It's a bigger sound because of the movement that's going on. So what I would do if I were on this is I would just play some long held notes. She got out of town on a railway New York bound. Took all except my name. Another alien out on Broadway. Some things in this world you just can't change. Some things you can't do until they're gone. Baby, baby, baby. Now this is where it starts to pick up a little steam. If you're listening to the song, you can hear that when they get to that chorus where he says, baby, 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 when all your love is gone. They're not like full tilt yet, but you can actually hear the rhythm pattern picking up just a little bit. So what you might think about doing is starting to implement that actual syncopated rhythm pattern at that point, but in a condensed and compressed fashion so that the soundscape doesn't get too big. So you were here saying, some things you can't see until it gets too late. And then, baby, 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 all your love is gone. So I'm very compressed. And I'm not playing octaves. I'm just playing like one note at a time here in my left hand. See how it creates this kind of small sound, but you're picking the pace up a little bit. Baby, 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 and all your love is gone. Who will save me from all I'm up against out in this world? Maybe, maybe, maybe. And see, I came down there, that next phrase, maybe, maybe, maybe. I wanted to give it just a little bit of emphasis. So even though I'm not playing octaves just yet, I did come down on that first note on an octave and just let that lower note ring underneath. And maybe, 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 find someone that's enough to keep you. But if the bright lights don't receive you, you should turn yourself around and come on home. And then definitely into verse 2, then you hear the drums kick up. And now we're off to the races, and you definitely want a bigger soundscape. So this is where I go full octaves, and I drop it from here down to here. Because I really want that. I want the contrast between what I've just been doing and what I'm doing now to be very apparent. I got a hole in me now. Yeah, I got a scar I can talk about. She keeps a picture of me in her apartment in the city. Some things in this world, man, they don't make sense. Some things you don't need until they leave you. And they're the things you miss. Sorry, that's a mouthful of words that he kind of throws in there. And some things that you don't need until they leave you. And they're the things you miss. And you say, baby, 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 and all your love is gone. You will save me from all I'm up against in this world. Okay. So now we know we're making it a bigger sound because we've dropped the octave. What can we do that might make it a little more to give it a little more pizzazz? Well, the right hand has lots of options. You don't have to just stick with this quarter note thing forever. What you could do is put in some toggles or some arpeggios in the right hand to give it a little bit, just to change things up a little bit. What's a toggle? Toggles where you play the top part of a chord with the top part of your hand. Excuse me. For instance, like your fingers, and then toggle to your thumb. So I got a hole in me now. Can you hear how that's just adding a little bit of something that wasn't there before? So instead of just 1, 2, 3, 4, you're getting 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1. Just add something. I got a hole in me now. I got a scar I can talk about. And it doesn't have to be robotic. You don't have to keep it doing that exact pattern. It can just be throw a toggle in wherever you want one. So sometimes you might play several in a row, like I got a hole in me now. It's really kind of up to you. The great thing about this method is that you get to make choices like that. It's about having a tool like toggling that you can reach into your grab bag for and apply anytime you want in the moment, which keeps it fresh every time you play it. It's like there's enough connective tissue every time you play it that it sounds mostly the same. But for you, it's always a slightly fresh experience because you're making choices in the moment and it doesn't get stale and boring to play the song. Okay. Arpeggios are when you're playing different notes from the chord individually as opposed to in a block. So like technically an arpeggio is like either ascending or descending in sequence. So like E, G sharp, B, or B, G sharp, E. But for our purposes, it could also be I don't really care what sequence you're playing them in. It's just about splitting it out and playing the notes individually rather than playing them in a block. So it's great for filling space, and sometimes it's an interesting thing to do in the rhythm pattern itself just to change things up. So I got a hole in me now. I got a scar I can talk about. So it's just something that you can do that makes things a little bit interesting. I probably like toggling a little better in this song myself, but that's a matter of personal taste. And so I want you to experiment with different little improv tricks like that and see what works. The other thing that you can do that makes things a little bit interesting, and you've probably seen me do it a time or two, is you can deploy different inversions of chords. Okay, so we know that an E chord, for example, is E, G sharp, and B, right? Well, those three notes can be put in any voicing that you want, and it's still an E chord. So you could, this is root inversion with the root of the chord, the E on the bottom of it. But you could move to first inversion, where the 3, 1, 2, 3 is on the bottom, 3, 5, 1. So you could play second inversion, where the 5 is on the bottom. And can you hear how even though it's still an E chord, so it still works, this sounds one way, that sounds one way. They all have just a slightly different sort of sonic footprint, if you will, or thumbprint. And so use them, mix it up a little bit. Sometimes what I do is just kind of use inversions so that I don't have to move my hand any more than is necessary. So I have sort of lazy lazy motives behind it, but it's also just something you can do to change up the sound a little bit without too much effort. And your toggles and your arpeggios work fine whether you're here or here or here, right? So it doesn't really matter. I got a hole in me. Na 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 na. So see what I did there? I was on an A chord, and then I changed it to an inversion higher than that up on the keyboard, just to give it a little bit of extra flavor. Da 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 da. So those are just some very, very sort of very approachable things. Toggles and arpeggios and just chord inversions. You can get so much juice out of just those three things. Even if you're not that sophisticated of a player, those are things that are approachable. You can practice those, and you can add those in a tiny step at a time. And every time you do one of those, it makes it more interesting. So it's like, let's compare without using any of these tips and any of these tricks to using a few of them. So if we're just doing the rhythm pattern alone and playing everything in root inversion, then it's like, I got a hole in me now. I got a scar I can talk about. She keeps a picture of me in her apartment in the city. That same line, but using some toggling, some arpeggios, and maybe playing around with the chord inversions a little bit, and you get, and I got a hole in me now. Yeah, I got a scar I can talk about. She keeps a picture of me in her apartment in the city. It's just something a little bit extra. It makes it just a little bit more fun. So now let's talk about another shift we might want to make. When we get to the bridge where he says, let that city take you in, one thing that you can kind of hear going on in the recording is that they kind of move to a dum 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 dum. It's just temporary. It doesn't really change the overall scope of the song, but you can really hear it. Like the bass goes to dum 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 dum, right? And the drummer starts like really reinforcing it on the toms. Dum 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 dum. When you hear stuff like that, okay, now we can add that element into the piano playing because we're just here by ourselves. So we have to put those elements in ourselves. So then we get to that spot, and he goes, let that city take you in, okay? It starts on a C sharp minor. So we might actually go, let that city take you in. So what am I doing? I'm doing the thump, 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 thump with the left hand. And up here, I'm just kind of playing 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3. And why am I doing that instead of, I could do this, I could. And if I were in the band, maybe that's exactly what I would do. But what I'm trying to do here is add an accent. I'm trying to add some emphasis to 1, 2, 3. that city take you in. Let that city spit you out. Let that city take you down. God's sakes, turn around. Okay? So when we get to down, right, that's kind of where we move back to the syncopated feel. But just for that little spot, it makes a lot of sense to change that up a little bit. Let that city take you in. And so if we're coming into that from the chorus, right? So, and maybe, find something that's enough to keep you. But if the bright lights don't receive you, you should turn yourself around and come on home. Let that city take you in. Let that city spit you out. Notice I can also put that accent on with a little toggle. One, da, 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 da. Let that city down you down. For God's sakes, turn around. Okay, so as you can see, we've got like a lot of different options, and there's a lot of more sophisticated stuff I could go into, but I want to keep this at least somewhat approachable for folks that are not that haven't been playing for 25 years. But if you have been playing for a long time, if you don't have ideas beyond this, just understand and trust. I could go on and on and on with all kinds of fun nuances to make it even more intense and more exciting. Because it really could. I'm just going to kind of do a little run through of the song, putting all, basically everything that I know how to do into it, just so that you can get a sense of what it can be when you have really a full toolbox full of tricks here. So it would start out. She got out of town on a railway, New York bound. Took all except my name. Another alien out on Broadway. Some things in this world you just can't change. Some things you can't see until it gets too late. And baby, when all your love is gone, who will save me from all I'm up against out in this world? Baby, find something that's enough to keep you. If the bright lights don't receive you, you should turn yourself around and come on home. I got a hook, John. Well, I got a holding me down. I got a scar I can talk about. She keeps a picture of me in her apartment in the city. Some things in this world, and they don't make sense. Let me see. Sorry, I'm just having to scroll here. Some things you don't need till they leave you. They think So as you can see, there's a lot of things, and everything that I'm doing there is just some kind of a tool, much like a toggle or an arpeggio, or just playing around with the inversion of a chord, or maybe making the chord a little more complex on purpose, like adding a note to it, like an added 9 or something. Maybe playing a full octave chord instead of a 3-note chord, right? So, but it's all rooted in very simple things, and sometimes it's just about taking simple things and stacking them on top of each other. And the way that you get there is that you add one element, and you get really good at it, and then you add another element, and you get really good at it, and then you add another element, and you get really good at it. And you look up one day, and your little bag of tricks is full of all kinds of interesting stuff. And intuitively, you can just reach in and grab them and try them out on songs, and you like some things in some places and not in others, and that's quite all right. That's what makes it a fun and creative experience. So, but I just wanted to give you some sense of where it can go over the course of time, and yet at the same time, we all should appreciate how good it sounds even when you don't have any of those bells and whistles. Because for the person who's just kind of getting started with this, boy, in a very, very short amount of time, they can be going, baby, 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 why you love me so? You will save me from all I'm up against out of this world. Baby, baby, baby. I mean, that's an amazing thing to be able to do quickly, especially when you're just kind of getting started. And that's what I love about this method. And I would invite you, if you're intrigued and want to learn more about this method, I've got a free song learning blueprint course, song learning blueprint mini course. It's down in the description. You can click the links there, and there's no obligation for anything whatsoever. You don't have to put a credit card in. It's just all yours. So go check it out and learn a little more. And then if you want to learn more about my paid material as well, you can. But hopefully what I've done here is one of the following things, or multiple of the following things. One, change the way you see how the piano can be played and how you can approach learning songs, because you do not have to reinvent the wheel every single time you learn a song. It's a very cumbersome way to do it. And most people, if you do that, you just can't learn as many songs. If you are absolutely tied to it's got to be played this exact way, no one has the brain capacity for that. You can do that with 50 songs, which is what touring musicians do, because that's the world that they live in. They play the same 50, they play the same 20 songs most every night, and then they rotate a few in and out, so they might know 50 that way. But this allows you to play hundreds and hundreds of songs. So I want you to see how you can approach learning songs and playing the piano differently. 2, I hope it's giving you something actionable, something that you can take not just for this song, but with other songs, some kind of tool or trick that you didn't know before that maybe you walk out into the world with and you're like, you know what, I can apply that here and there. And also hope that you had a little bit of fun together with me, just talking about this great song, and because I am a lover of great songs above everything else. That's what drives me with this. I'm not here to be the fanciest or craziest piano player in the world. I am here to empower myself and others to play the greatest songs ever written and recorded. And that just really makes me excited to analyze a song, see what's going on, and find the quickest pathway to bringing it to life on this magnificent instrument that we've got. So anyway, thank you for going on this journey with me. There's much more we could talk about, but I'm sure by now this is about a belly full for most of you. So I'm going to let it be enough for today. And again, check out my links down there and go take my free song learning blueprint mini course if you want to go a little deeper in the work with me. And check out my YouTube channel for all kinds of fun covers and educational videos just like this. And remember my personal mantra, folks. If you're not having fun when you're making music, you're doing it wrong. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm Piano Man Steve, signing out.